welcome to Creative Mornings. Welcome to the resurgence of Creative Mornings. It is seriously, yes, round of applause. Seriously, such a joy. We have been working on this. Well, I'll tell you a little bit of the backstory. And if we haven't met yet, my name is Taylor. It's so lovely to meet you. We've not exchanged Instagram, usernames and have become friends yet. Please say hello. But I was scrolling in bed, as one does, probably in like July, and Nate's my boyfriend right here, the one with the video camera doing good boyfriend things, and and I look over and I see a post from Creative Mornings saying, we're looking for a new host, like to bring resurgence to the Detroit chapter. And I literally look at him, pardon my French, and I said, fuck. I'm supposed to do this. And so, long story short, connected with the Creative Mornings team, and then was brought to here and connected to some people along the way, and have been working on this through the fall. So seriously, to see you all in here is a dream come true. So thank you for making this known. Thank you for bringing this back, because as you, I just can imagine, agree with me, Detroit is a really special city, right? I have gotten to do work in New York, I've got to do work in Chicago and Atlanta, and there's cool creatives everywhere, of course, but there is something different about this city and the people that do amazing work here. And so I get to do also a lot of cool things like coaching people. And one of my favorite questions to ask people is, how do you define success? And so in my planning of Creative Mornings and my planning of even today, I was thinking about it in the shower last night. I was like, what does success mean for this? And I envision success for this community today and for this year going forward as magic happening in this room. I want there to be new business partnerships that form in this room. I want there to be new opportunities, new clients, new businesses that are born, new creative projects that come to be because of the partnerships and connections that happen in this room. Of course, we're going to be inspired along the way with our speakers and things like that, but that is my intention. So my hope is that you've already, in this time before and continue on, are bold in connecting with each other and just lean into opportunities with each other, because I think we're sitting on a gold mine of opportunity, of wealth, of knowledge, and opportunity, so take advantage, please. I am so excited to get to introduce our speaker for today, but before I do that, I'm going to do my due diligence of just thanking our sponsors. First of all, John Jarbo over there. Anyone know John Jarbo? Raise your hand. Anchor Design. He's so wonderful. He and his wife Tessa have an amazing web and brand development company, and he sponsored our coffee. So if you're drinking coffee, you have him to thank for it. And so he's so wonderful. Yes, round of applause for coffee. As well as if you got to enjoy some of the breakfast out there that's done by Board Babes. They came in last minute, they're like, we want to help you do this, and they're so lovely. So if you want a cool charcuterie board for an event or a party you're hosting, they're your people. So connect with Board Babes. As well as these amazing speakers, we have EG Productions. So if you want an event that sounds and looks cool, these are dear friends of mine, please connect with them. So lovely. And then this beautiful venue that we're at. This is the gallery at Ideation Orange, connected to Ideation Orange, the studio back there. And if you do not know, Ideation Orange is in the business of branding spaces. So Ideation Orange turns buildings into storytelling experiences. So if you're in that business or you know people in that business and you want to turn your space into something cool, they are your people. As well as this space right here. This is an art gallery that also serves as an event venue. So if you've always dreamed of hosting a cool event for your company or your community, some really cool stuff just like this happens in this room. I think that's all my things I have to say. So without further ado, I want to introduce our speaker, John Haji. He really goes without saying, he is an amazing, in the subscription space, he's a leader in that space. He's the founder of the Gentleman's Box, amongst so many other things that he's going to share with us about, but truly you're going to be so inspired about what he has to share today. So round of applause for John.
Let me just start off by saying that if I look weird up here with my neck, it's because it's stiff this morning. Maybe it's the I want to start off, first of all, by thanking Creative Mornings and Taylor and the entire Detroit team for putting on this event, inviting me out to kick off 2024, to speak to you all. It's a really exciting experience for me. And also, John is a really good friend of mine, so I want to give another shout out to John for connecting me with Taylor and the entire CreativeMornings team, and recommending me to come speak with you guys. I'm here today to share kind of my story and my journey through entrepreneurship. And with it being a new year, I'm sure a lot of you have uttered these words like 2024 is going to be the best year for me. I can't wait to do so many exciting things in 2024. I can't wait to show the world what 2024 is all about. For me, 2024 actually marks a decade of entrepreneurship. 10 years since I left my cushy 9-to-5 job, and I'm excited to share my story because I've never been able to share this story in front of an audience. It's usually just like my wife or my brother. I think they've heard the story so many times, so I'm excited to be part of this resurgence and share my story with you. So, cheesy poll question, raise of hands. How many of you, every day, wake up in the morning, and on your way to work, you think, I get to go do exactly what I love to do. I get to go do what I'm super, super passionate about. Don't be shy, raise your hand. I expected this. Good, I'm glad. 10 years ago, I would have been sitting down, not raising my hand. I did not like what I was doing. What I realized was I was in this 9-to-5 dream job. And what I realized was that this 9-to-5 concept and dream job often didn't complement each other. Now, I'm not saying it doesn't exist, it definitely does exist out there for people, but it just didn't exist in my world. Quick background about me. So, my parents immigrated, I'm a first-generation American. My parents immigrated to this country in the 70s and 80s from Iraq in hopes to provide a better future for not only themselves, but their children. And like many other immigrant parents, they worked day and night to provide an amazing upbringing for us, an amazing future. And they always had hopes and aspirations that I would one day become a doctor, a lawyer, something of a prestigious caliber. And rightfully so, because what shined success in their eyes, what they saw, were folks in these fields. And forever, most of my life actually, I wanted that so bad for my parents. In fact, I went to school instead to be a doctor. See, my dad worked 14, 16 hours a day, open and close in his grocery market, in his party store. My mom was a full-time stay-at-home mom. She was raising 5 children. She was a hairstylist on the side. At one point in her life, there were 3 boys, believe it or not, under the age of 1. I'm a twin. I'm actually an extra triple. I'm a twin, and days before my brother's first birthday, we were born. Now, I've been blessed with 2 beautiful baby girls. First one is, she's just turned 2. She's this dainty little princess. Hi, Daddy. I love you, Daddy. She walks around, so sweet and innocent. The 7-month-old, she's on that same trajectory. We just want to like smother her chubby cheeks. On the other hand, my brother has 3 boys, 4, 2, and about to be 1. And all I'm going to say is, boys. I go over, I hang out with them, and I think to myself, to my mom, how the hell did you do this? But let alone have 2 more kids. But it's because they had to, right? They really wanted to provide the best for their children. And as a result, I wanted to make my parents so happy and so proud and do something that they wanted for me. But the truth was, deep down, something was telling me that I didn't want to do that, right? When I was young, I was always a creative individual. I always thought outside the box. I loved being a leader. So when I was young, I took arts and sciences because I thought in both fields I could be creative. I did a bunch of art fairs. When I was in middle school, I was fascinated by architecture. I was fascinated by blueprints. No one knows why. I was 10, 11 years old, and for some reason, home design and blueprints were fascinating to me. And so for 1 year for my birthday, I'd asked my parents for a home building software. And so while other kids were playing video games and outside playing sports. So I was on this compact computer in my dad's house, building blueprints for homes. Because I love being creative. I felt like in doing this, I could be creative. I could challenge myself and do things differently and outside the box. You see, for me, being creative in everything I do in life, and until this day, just improves overall like mental health. It reduces stress. It just makes me happy being able to do this type of stuff and think this way. The problem was, growing up, I never received the motivation or the encouragement from my parents or my siblings or anyone else in my life to essentially figure out what I was so passionate about. In this case, I was so passionate about being creative, and then center my life around it. What happened instead was I had all these different jobs, and everything that I did in life, I would try to bring my passion for creativity into it. And oftentimes it was very challenging and hard task because there are rules and guidelines sometimes. You don't have full autonomy to do what it is that you want to do. You're just limited. And I didn't want to be limited. So, 10 years ago, oh, and let me say this. Oftentimes I find that a lot of people do this as well, is that they'll think, what is something that will help provide a good living for me? What is something that I think I will enjoy? And then take that path. Which is what I think is the more desirable alternative path of what am I passionate about? What do I love to do? And then how can I center my life around that? So that's what I thought. So 10 years ago, I left my 9-to-5 job. First of all, before I got this 9-to-5 dream job, I went to Grand Valley State University, go Lakers. Oh yeah, there we go. I didn't see it. Go Lakers. I got a degree in exercise physiology, which now is just a paperweight on my wall. And after I graduated, I had taken on this summer job because I was studying for exams to go to grad school. I wanted to go into sports medicine. And so I was studying for exams, and in between exams, I landed this job as a porter in a dealership. And, oh yeah, there you go, wow, sorry. I landed this job as a porter at this dealership where I essentially just like washed cars and drove cars to people, and you know, it was just a way for me to make some extra bucks while I was studying for my exams. And I was really into men's fashion, so I wore a tie every single day, which was like weird. Like, I was cleaning cars with a tie on. But I just loved men's fashion, so I was like, I just want to wear a tie. It was one of those probably, you know, subconscious mentalities of dress for the job you want, not have it. I didn't want the job. And my boss took notice of it. He was like, hey, why are you wearing a tie recently? I was like, I don't know, I just love dressing up, I love looking nice. He's like, well, why don't you use that tie and be a service advisor, right? Sell service to people in their cars when they need service done in their cars. I said, okay, well, still studying for my exams. Sure, why not? Let me make a few extra bucks. So then he put me in this dealership where I was selling service, and within 1 month, now I was 23 at the time. So within 1 month, I was a top salesman across 6 different dealerships. And so then he moved me from this one dealership to a much larger volume dealership so I could sell more. And then within 3 months, I was manager at that dealership. And within 1 year, one promotion after another, I was an assistant director of 6 dealerships. I had 60 people who worked underneath me. I had a nice 6-figure salary. And I had pushed away all my parents' dreams and hopes for me to become a doctor. And they were pissed. My mom actually almost kicked me out of the house. No lie. She's like, you're not going to become a doctor? And I knew like she kind of wanted to go brag to her friends, like, hey, my son's a doctor, kind of thing. And it just wasn't for me. So I pushed it all aside. And I thought that I had landed my dream job, right? And this was truly a case where money does not buy happiness, because I was making good money.
I had a lot of great relationships with people. I loved the people that I worked with. But the joke that I always say is that when shit hit the fan was the front door of my office. And I had to deal with that often, right? And so I felt like I needed to make a change. So after a few years, I think I was 27, I took a step back and I started to think, what do I love to do? Number one, I love being creative. I think I have like a million innovative ideas. I think we all do. A million different innovative ideas, creative ideas running through our brains on a daily basis. Sometimes I'll be in the shower for like 20 minutes thinking of stuff, and after 20 minutes I'll think, maybe I should probably like lather up with some soap and shampoo and start my day, right? I love being a leader. And I was really into men's fashion. So I thought to myself, okay, I'm gonna start my very own business. And I honestly think that like entrepreneurship was like in my blood. My dad ran multiple different grocery stores and party stores. He actually had a wholesale business, where are we? 3 blocks down for many years. My mom, while raising 5 kids, had a hairstylist business in our basement. She ran a daycare out of our house, which is crazy because there was kids running everywhere when I was little. She was a florist, and even to this day, she's a seamstress that tailors wedding dresses, and she actually makes wedding dresses for people. So I just feel like maybe it was in my blood that I should go into business. And so taking on this lifestyle, I needed to make sure that I checked off all the boxes first. So number one, I was like, okay, as a founder of this company, I could be a leader, which meant that I could inspire and motivate people, which I love to do. Second thing was, all of our consumers received products like ties, socks, pocket squares, fashion, and lifestyle accessories. So this was a great way for me to keep up to date with the latest trends in men's fashion, which is something I really loved at the time. And lastly, I was thinking, how can I make this business creative? How can I be unique about it? For one, in any business, and we all know this, that you have to think about the pain point first before getting into business. For me, when I was in the automotive industry, I wore a shirt and tie every day. I was a guy that when you walked in, if you asked me to lift my pant leg up, I was so excited to show you like my bold, bright socks. Don't ask me to lift up my pant leg. I'm way past those days. I think I have black, thick socks because of this weather right here. And so you had to think about the pain point. And I was working like 70 hours a week, sometimes 80 hours a week, because dealership hours, they suck. They're like, you're there at 6 in the morning, you leave at 6 at night, 7 at night, sometimes 9 at night. You work Saturdays. So I didn't really have time to go out and shop for myself. I didn't have time to go buy ties or socks or stay up to date with the latest trends in fashion. And quite honestly, like quality goods are really expensive, right? So there was really nothing out there that was, kind of affordable. So my creative side of me started to think, okay, what could I do? There's gotta be millions of different men out there like me who have the same problem. And also, like, men are simple, right? Like, for one, we don't like to really shop for ourselves. Our wives or our significant others will do it for us. And, like, once we get one shirt that fits well, we'll get, like, 10 of them that are the same color. It's just how we are. But I thought to myself, there's gotta be other men out there who don't have the time to go shop for themselves. And how can I bring these men's fashion and lifestyle accessories, things that I really loved, and bring it to them? And subscriptions at the time were booming. So I thought, okay, why don't we package men's fashion and lifestyle accessories, 4 to 5 different items on a monthly basis, ties, socks, and deliver it right to their door. We'd be able to solve this pain point of being able to not shop for themselves by it coming to their door. There's this value and convenience. We would do so for under $30 a month, so it was affordable. And then we'd help instill confidence in men. Our motto was look good, feel good, be good. And so we did. So I launched our very first business. It was called the Gentleman's Box. And every time I say the name of the Gentleman's Box, I have to pause and give credit where it's due, because my wife, who was my girlfriend at the time, I was like, hey, we're like a year into our relationship. And I'm Chaldean. You're a year into your relationship. You know, it's serious. So my parents were like, okay, you gonna marry this girl or what? So a year into this relationship, this cushy 9-to-5 job, and I was like, for sure, like, we're going strong. I'm gonna marry her. And I sat her down with her and I said, hey, I'm gonna quit my job and I'm gonna start this business. And she just looked at me and she said, well, what's the business? And I said, okay, well, this is what it is. This is my thought. We're gonna have this box, and every month we're gonna package 4 or 5 different fashion accessories for men. We're gonna ship it to their door. There's like millions and millions of men out there. This is gonna be like a multi-million, billion-dollar idea. And she was like, you should call it the Gentleman's Box. So I have to give her credit because she came up with the name. I didn't. She doesn't let me live it down. So if you ever met her, she'll know that was my idea. Fast forward, we grew the company to 50,000 subscribers. We were in 38 different countries worldwide. We formed partnerships with GQ Magazine, which is a funny story in itself. If you ever want to know, just ask me. Jim Beam, John Barbados, and so many more until we were acquired, actually, in 2020. Now, while if that wasn't enough for my 2 partners, so I have 2 partners, Chris and Paul, if that wasn't enough for us while we were running this business, this responsibility of running a subscription business, a subscription box business, which is like non-traditional retail. It's not like your common retail brick and mortar store, or even just like your typical e-commerce store where you're buying like one-off products. Like this was, you're packaging and kitting a different product. The acquisition of a customer is completely different. The retention of the customer is completely different. You have to create a unique and different experience. So everything about this business, every facet, operation, supply chain, curation was completely different than like traditional retail. And you know, we had to learn this all. And while that was a lot of responsibility, we had thought to ourselves one day, well, there's got to be other sub-box owners. This is 2014, so I think like FabFitFun and Birchbox were like top of the game in the subscription world. And we're like, well, how do we connect with those people? How do we leverage our network? How do we go meet those people? How do we figure out ways to bounce best practices off each other, learn what works, what doesn't work? And so we said, there's got to be like an event out there for this. So we were searching the internet and trying to find events for subscription boxes specifically. And to our surprise, there was literally nothing out there. Literally. This is crazy, right? Subscriptions actually have been around for decades. There was like records of the month, things like that, but there's nothing out there for a subscription box. So what do? We took a step back, we thought creatively, we said, well, 3 scrappy entrepreneurs, we started this one business, why don't we start our own event? And so we started our very first event in 2016 called Sub Summit. It was the very first event that brought together like-minded individuals in the subscription box space. We could come together in one room, bounce best practices off each other, find out what's working from an acquisition side of things, how are you guys getting customers, how are you retaining them, what are you doing to drive an amazing experience, what are you curating in your boxes, and just kind of like tips and tricks. Fast forward to now, so that was 2016, which our very first party, we were very forward, our very first event, well, it's kind of a party actually. Our very first event in 2016 was here in Detroit, and there was like 200 people at this event. And we were able to kind of garnish the attention of the CEO at Birchbox, the CEOs at FabFitFun. And I think it was one of those, we were also first to market, but we also were creating something that was different and unique for everybody in the subscription space. Fast forward to now, we now run the largest event in the world for subscriptions that brings folks from all facets of subscription. 6 different verticals of the subscription economy, whether it's a streaming company like Netflix, Hulu, to digital media subscriptions like Wall Street Journal, New York Times, to your e-commerce and subscription box companies like FabFitFun, BattleBox, HelloFresh, and so on. Now, with all that success, though, I have to say it's important to note that with all success, of course, comes failures, right? So, remember, I got a degree studying exercise physiology. I didn't take a single business or marketing course in my life. And I was like, I'm gonna start a business, which I had no idea what to do. I mean, when I was young, I'd go into my dad's grocery stores or his wholesale business, and I would just do like mundane tasks, like, putting Coke in the cooler or something like that. But, I didn't know the intricacies of running a business. And if you're a movie buff like me, there's like in the movie Rocky, there's a famous speech he says, right? It's like not all rainbows and sunshines. And he goes on to say, it's not about how hard you hit, it's about how hard you can get hit and keep moving forward, right? Well, we got hit hard. I got hit hard, especially early on, right? Multiple failures within running Jones Box. I made many mistakes that cost thousands of dollars because I had no idea what the hell I was doing. We were making no money for like 3 to 4 years. And I tried launching side gigs. I tried launching other businesses because I had this shiny object syndrome, if you will, or like I thought of this next best idea, or this one idea, and then I put my eggs in that basket, and it's like, you need to focus, and I wasn't focused. So I had to close many different businesses. And then, right, COVID hit, the worst thing for everybody, right? And the story there is, in February of 2020, my two partners, Chris and Paul, we had signed the dotted line to sell the Jones Box. We had been running this business for 6 years. We had grown successful in it, and we wanted to put all of our attention in Subsummit because it was arguably bigger at this time. And it was garnering a lot of attention. It was having rapid growth. And so, 2020, we signed the dotted line on selling the Jones Box. At the time, my wife was pregnant with our first child. And then March 2020 hit, we all know what happened. Right? The premise of Subsummit was an event. Right? And there were no events happening. Right? That was our bread and butter. That is exactly what we did. We ran events. So it was literally the scariest moment of my life because I had just sold this business, which for me was like my brainchild. It was like my baby. I really didn't want to get rid of it, but I knew that there was something bigger within Subsummit. But then COVID hit and like we couldn't have events. Right? I'm like, oh my God, what am I going to do? This business is going to fail. But Chris, Paul, and I, right, we had to take a step back and think creatively. Like, how can we make this business succeed? What can we do differently? How can we pivot? And so what we did is we thought about converting our community into an association, creating a community that supports all subscription businesses, creating a knowledge hub and a go-to resource for subscription brands. Grew that to supporting over 2,000 businesses, kind of like ride the wave of getting back to events. And now, we're on pace to host our largest event in June in Dallas, Texas, where it's on pace to be the largest event in the world, right? What I learned early on in anything for entrepreneurship is that it's not a career, right? It's a lifestyle. You have to embrace it. You have to be resilient. You have to be tough. You gotta roll with the punches. And you gotta know when to pivot and always think creatively. I work more than 70, 80 hours a week doing what I do right now. But I love every single moment of it. I have a great deal of passion behind it because every single day, whether it's something shitty that's happening or something that's great that's happening, I can think creatively about it. I can think outside the box. I can try to solve for it. It helps stimulate my brain, and I love every single moment of it. Right? Now, I'll leave you with this. I wrote this down. I don't want to butcher this because I think this is very important. For those that are looking to get into entrepreneurship and doing something, everyone's story, everyone's journey through entrepreneurship is different, and it's unique. There's no right or wrong formula, right or wrong path. There's no secret formula. Entrepreneurship is an infinite game. There's no winner. There's no race to the top. So for all the creative risk takers and for everybody in this room out there and people that you know, make sure that whatever you do, that there's passion behind it, that allows you to be creative, center your life around that. And all I ask is that in 10 years, when you're up here telling your story, that you invite me to it. If I can do it, you can do it. Thank you. And I'm happy to open up the floor for anybody that has any questions.
This is just something funny. On my way here, I was listening to NPR, like trying not to spit all over my head. And it was this story, it was just so brief about this kid and his friend who decided to start dressing up for school, but only on Wednesdays. And they called it Dapper Wednesdays. But they live in like a rural place in Maine, and they were talking about how it was hard to get like fashionable accessories to go with their suits.
Yeah.
And I was thinking it would just be so cool if they had that box.
Yeah, you know, we gotta connect with them and get them involved.
Yeah.
Glad that you did it too. Anyone else? Yeah.
So, like you, I'm in the fashion space as well.
Okay, awesome.
I'm the manager of the Shinola store.
Oh, nice.
So, I like what you said about trying to find people who are not going to abandon their cart, who are going to get customer attention. And we found the same thing, that 40% of our watch buyers do buy one in a lifetime, so we need to get them. Like, it's really important. What kind of like hurdles do you guys overcome to like get that customer attention, realize who's worth retaining, who's not worth business, to stay profitable in the other world?
Yeah, no, great question. I think you guys, first of all, did a fantastic job on creating an experience for the customers, from the packaging, from the quality of the watch, everything like that. I think every customer is actually worth it. Right? I've always said that behind every customer is like a high quality trait. Right? And you just have to like uncover what that high quality trait is to retain them and convert them. So we were always thinking of ways to enhance the experience, of course, post-purchase. We'd get them in the door, they'd sign up for the Jones box, and the thing that we were able to figure out was that somebody could love the Jones box, and they could love every single item in it, love the socks, love the ties, but like there was a point, like at 8 months, the customer would churn. Because as much as they loved it, their sock drawer was just filled with new socks and ties, right? This wasn't a product that was depletable. This wasn't a product that was replenishable like Harry's Razors or any of the other subscriptions that provide a depletable product. And so we thought, well, we're always going to lose subscribers after 8 months, right? So how do we create better retention? And so I think for us, it was, we started putting out content around like men's fashion. So I get on camera and I talk about, ways to fold a tie, because there's like, actually like 10 different ways to fold a tie, right? And how to pair, pocket squares with ties, and just kind of give tips and fashion advice. And that was a way to keep them engaged within the community of the Jones box. And while, let's say they did cancel after 8 months, they were still engaged. And what would happen was, they'd just kind of pause for like 2 months, and then they'd come back, right? They didn't like lose sight of Jones box. So we were always thinking like, how can we create a better experience outside of the box? And then of course it was just like, how can we create better products, right? How can we find better, or how can we develop better relationships with suppliers, with brands, and provide, because the Jones box was this element of discovery and delight. You never knew what was in the box every month. We curated it ourselves, so you didn't know what color tie you'd get. You don't know if you were going to like it. But what was important to us is that if you got the box and you felt that this would be out of place for you because you weren't somebody that was used to wearing lapel pins or pocket squares or like these bright colors, that we would make sure that we were telling kind of the story behind the product itself. So every month was its own theme. So then we, like after I think a year into the business, we realized that let's put a theme behind this box. Let's talk about what's inside of it, how you compare the products with each other, and kind of how to wear it, and show people different outfits. And so we would do things like that and get creative on the content side of things.
So with that being said, do you have like a way to qualify the guests to like, kind of get an idea as to the direction of which box they want and say, here's my style, here's this, so that when I'm reading something, it's not totally irrelevant.
Yeah. So I mean, we surveyed our customers every single month on every single box, right? It was questions of what you liked, what you didn't like, what do you want to see in future boxes, right? Like the tie and the sock was the go-to product in each one. But it was how do you balance the other different accessories? And so we would survey which other accessories proved to be successful. And we actually found, because this is a true story, where we were putting, I was really into lapels at the time, and so we were putting lapel pins in every single box. And people were like, no, I don't want to wear lapels, until we finally surveyed them and said, hey, do you guys want to see more lapels? And we found out that people did not like wearing lapels, right? And so we're like, okay, maybe we put that once a year, twice a year, not 12 times a year. So surveying our customers, right, and getting that data from the customer, because in any business, data prevails over everything. You really need to understand your customer to really be able to figure out how to deliver the best product or the best service. Yes?
So you have had two co-founders who have been with you from the beginning to today.
Yes.
So talk about the importance of finding a co-founder. Would you do it again that way?
Absolutely. I mean, first of all, it's really hard to start and operate and run a business by yourself. And everything that I do, even to this day, if I think of another business idea tomorrow, I want to think of somebody who is like-minded, who's got this same level of passion for me on this idea, and try to go into business with them. My two partners, Chris and Paul, how it came about is Chris, who is a brother to me. He married my first cousin, and Chris and Paul, I should say, were business entrepreneurs. Paul has owned a web developing digital marketing agency since Victoria, 2000? 25 years. He's been in business for 25 years. Chris had run his own collection agency successfully, and in 2014, and Chris was married to my first cousin, and I had gone to him with this idea and said, hey, I got this idea for this box idea. I need to surround myself with smart individuals, right? I don't know what I'm doing. And he introduced me to Paul, and we just kind of hit it off. Like, we're the perfect yin yang, and maybe yang, because there's three of us. And we complement each other so well. We lead and we advise differently too, which is actually great that we all have kind of a different mindset about how we go about things, because again, it allows us to complement each other. And what I will say is, I've been blessed to have Chris and Paul as my partners in everything that we do, in everything that I do in my life, even moving forward. I'm always involved in them, they're always involved in me. And what we do is we also, I think it's also important to know that you should always try to surround yourself. For me, I always try to surround myself with people who are smarter than me, that know maybe certain things better than I do. Of course, you have to get into the weeds of things, of course, and learn it yourself, so that way maybe you're able to kind of delegate and direct. But I'm always all about surrounding myself and partnering myself up with smarter individuals and people who are like-minded like me. So I think it's very important that if you do go into business, while it's a tough and daunting task to do it alone, if there's someone you know that is like-minded, that has the same kind of passion and ideas as you, maybe try to bring them along with you. Yes?
So I'm curious, I feel like most people, especially entrepreneurs or creatives, naturally go through periods where you're kind of in funk. And I know you said you feel like entrepreneurship is in your blood a little bit, but and of course there's an element of watching your parents keep going. But I'm wondering if you have any practices now that either you learned from them or you adopted to kind of help you get out of that phase.
Get out of that fun. I think it's just this mentality of grinding for me. I saw my dad work 16 hours a day. I mean, I'd wake up, he wouldn't be there. I'd come home, go to sleep, he wouldn't be there. But I knew that deep down he was working every single hour to just grind and provide the best life for our family and to make sure that his business didn't fail. So for me and for entrepreneurs out there, there's this, I say it over and over again, it's not a career, it's a lifestyle, right? Your whole mentality changes. And for me, it's this mentality of I just grind through it. I figure out, I just think of all the different resources out there. I leverage my network, so I'm in a funk. I'm leveraging my network to see, to connect with people, to see what's working for them. And maybe I can implement within our business, And really just kind of like not take my eye off the prize and just kind of work day and night if I need to, right? Like there's a balance, of course, that you want to take into consideration. But as an entrepreneur, when I go through those bumps, I know that like, I gotta kind of switch gears and go into this kind of grind mode. And that's kind of what has helped me. Yeah.
Is there always going to be a level of like, you just have to go for it? Like, I feel like with any creative idea I have or business I want to start, there's always like some seed of doubt. Is it to really get started, you just got to jump in?
Yes. Yeah. I mean, if it's on your mind day and night, like you sleep, you think about it. You wake up, you think about it. 3 months later, you're thinking about it, like you're already like, you should have already jumped on it. And here's what I'll say though, is when I was working at the dealership, you know, a good practice too is like doing things slowly. Like maybe you don't just jump right into it. When I was at the dealership and I had come up with this idea, I had spent 5 months putting together like a business plan and reaching out to vendors in the men's fashion space. So I was reaching out to like Kiehl's, I was reaching out to John Barbados, I was connecting with people at Nordstrom, telling them of an idea that I was going to launch, right, 5 months from now. But essentially kind of like preparing myself for that when this day comes, when I decide to pull the trigger and I leave, that I've at least done some due diligence to put together what I think is a sound business plan, establish relationships, so that maybe it didn't feel like I was just jumping right into it. And so that's a really good best practice because I did that for about 5-6 months, developed a bunch of relationships, started calling on box manufacturers to get designs made up, right? Connected with individuals to figure out what the future of Jones Box would look like. I developed a partnership with GQ Magazine before we even had one partner, one subscriber. And that's because we lied to them, which I don't encourage anybody to lie to any sort of partner, but we did. But we were like resilient, and I was like, I gotta make this happen. I gotta form these partnerships because I know at some point I'm literally gonna walk to my boss's office, put my 2 weeks in, shock the world, and leave. I was the youngest director in across 50 different dealerships, one of the largest dealership groups in the nation. So they all had high hopes that I was going to enter into like executive leadership down the road, and so it was for months they were calling me to come back, and I was like, no, this is what I want to do. But I think to answer your question, a good best practice is maybe like kind of prepare, plan the business out, like the ideas that you have. If there's anything to do to plan for it, fantastic. But at some point, yeah, just got to step in and go for it.
Well, I'm going to play off of that, something you said 3 times. I heard you say to customers, it's nothing. I mean, the lapel pins. I mean, you have to talk to the customer.
Yeah.
I mean, you jump in, you think you have the deal, but customers don't.
Yeah. You never know, right? Like you think you know what somebody wants because of what you want, and that's not the way it should be. It's never what you want or what the product you want to create or the service that you want to provide. I mean, again, like in any business, and we have hundreds of conversations with other subscription owners through our association, through our community, at our events. They're not just subscription box companies. These are like folks from DoorDash and Netflix who have like share the same sentiments. Like you have to understand your customer. You have to know what it is that they want, so that you can pivot, create a business model that is like long lasting. Yeah. Any other questions? Cool.
Good job.
Thank you so much.
Thank you so much. That was so inspiring. A round of applause again for Joe. So I just want to thank you so much for making your way through the snow to be here for our very first gathering. Luckily, this is not our last because our next one is already scheduled for February 16th. It's Friday, same time, same place. We'd love to have you back, and we'd love for you to bring your friends. So it's going to be a really just cool. I'm just excited that this is a long-term thing that we all get to be in together. And thank you to our sponsors, to the gallery, again for having us. And make sure you do not leave this space without making a new friend. Hopefully a coffee date with someone, like again, we're on a gold mine, make those connections. So thank you so much again. Have a good one. Happy Friday.